My grandmother, Frances Jean Deaton, was born in 1932, and her parents' names were Herbert and Helen Borum. She lived the first few years of her life in Pittsburgh, and then they moved to a townhouse in Marion. And I didn't realize she lived in Marion before she married my grandfather after high school. So that was kind of interesting to me. I didn't even know Pittsburgh existed, let alone that she lived there, and that then she moved to Marion. And it wasn't until later that she moved to the farm that I always associated with her childhood as a part of my childhood, going there and visiting her home and seeing my great-grandfather, because by then her mother had passed away when I was very small. So when she moved there, she was about to start high school, and she was like 12, 13, or 14 years old. And so I didn't realize that was not the place she grew up from a small child. So that was kind of interesting for me to find out that story, the correct story. And she did not go to the Creel Springs School as I thought. She actually went to Marion High School, which was kind of why she didn't want to move to the farm in the first place, because living out there, and she couldn't do as many extracurricular activities because there was no way for her to get home. Creel Springs is close now, but back then not everyone had a car or a truck or some other vehicle to get home with, and so you couldn't walk that distance. So she didn't get to do these things when she was in high school because of that. And one of the best stories I have of her is when I was 4, 5, 6, I thought she was a spy. She wrote in shorthand, which is a type of writing that we don't really do anymore. You take certain letters out of words and certain words out of sentences to be able to write what someone's saying as they're saying it, which is a skill that I kind of developed as a journalist as part of my undergraduate experience and in my professional career early on. And so that was kind of neat to pass down that skill. But it's kind of like fitting, where we take out vowels out of words to make our 140 characters for Twitter, but yet not. And so when I was small, it looked really weird. You know, you're learning how to spell and you have to put all the letters in there, otherwise it's wrong. And here she had taken them out. So I always associated her shorthand with spy codes. As a kid, I was fascinated by spies. There's the Harriet the Spy movie came out when I was in grade school, and that was kind of the beginning of me wanting to be a writer, is connecting her past to my present. And so that was always fun for me, is to try to practice Grandma's shorthand. And they really did. They looked like spy codes because I didn't understand what shorthand really was, you know, when I was first trying to learn how to read. The other reason why I thought she was a spy was that she had this massive Underwood typewriter, and it was loud and noisy, and you could hear me from any room in the house, or even outside sometimes, of me typing out a story that I had written, because I was trying to be like Harriet. And something that my grandfather had told me about, or I'd seen on the History Channel, was the Enigma machines that they used in World War II, trying to decode secret messages between the Allies and the Nazis, for the most part, and trying to send messages to, you know, organize troops here, there, and wherever, and each side trying to break each other's codes. And they used a machine very much like, that looked like a typewriter to do this with. And you, still being like 5 years old, not understanding that this was not the same type of machine, even though they looked very similar, because they didn't look like, you know, our snazzy Macs that we use to communicate with now. It was a much bigger, heavier contraption that had weird keys that actually physically move, and when you push down the lever, it snaps up the character on the page. So to me, they were one and the same, even though they were not remotely the same, quite frankly.